You look weary. Come closer. I am the teller. Tales of wonder. Tales of light and dark. There are all manner of stories here. So come, sit by the fire. Let me tell you a story. Hello. In this episode, we have two storytellers who wish to make themselves known. So in a rare come sit by the fire episode, instead of two tales from the teller, we have two monologues. The first from a man who must face some uncomfortable truths about his wife after he discovers secrets on her phone. May I present The Strangest Things. You can find things in the strangest places. Things that have no business being there. That make no sense as to how they could possibly have got there. I was doing the house cleaning the other day. You know the cleaning jobs. The ones you don't do all week because you can't be arsed for one reason or the other. Too tired from work. Kids are driving you around the bend and you need to watch their every step, every move the moment they step through the door. So they build and they build over the week until Sunday rolls around. You got fuck all else to do. And you know that it's now or never. The week will begin again if you ain't done them. By the off chance someone comes over for a visit, they're likely to call social services on you for cultivating an unhygienic environment for your kids. So I was doing them. Cleaning the windows, wiping the finger smudges and toothpaste crust off the bathroom mirrors, wiping down the spilt shower gel and the shampoo off the tiles. The odd jobs. The small shit. I was upstairs. Main bathroom is downstairs. Top of the stairs by the bedrooms, we got one of those cupboard bathrooms. Toilet, sink, window. That's your lot. Since it's so small, we don't clean it often. Not enough surface area to get ruined, you know what I mean? So I was wiping the windowsill. Seagull sat on the roof above the open window and let loose a black shit down the open glass right onto the tiles behind the toilet. I always thought bird shit was white, but anyway. I finished that up and I was cleaning the toilet when I noticed all the old loo rolls stacked up behind the cistern. No one could be asked to throw them away. I haven't had a bin in that bathroom since Lucy, my youngest, chunned in it 6 months ago after she caught that bug that went round all the schools. So everyone, myself included, just dumps the old rolls down the back of the loo until you get to this point when there's nigh on 20 of the bastards, crumpled, soggy and stinking behind there. I picked them up and I started slinging them in the carrier bag I got with me for rubbish when I see an onion. A whole white onion. Sitting under the bog rolls and behind the bog brush. Now, not a skin. Not a cooked onion that fell off a dinner plate Tom took up when he didn't want to eat with the rest of us. A whole white onion. Could have been bought that day. Now, as I mentioned, I was in the upstairs bathroom. Not a downstairs one with a shower, bath and cupboard under the stairs. If it had been in there, I wouldn't have batted an eyelid. Kitchen's right next door and we keep the shopping bags in the cupboard at the back of the bathroom. Could have easily rolled out a bag and we weren't paying attention. But this was upstairs. Solid couple metres from the kitchen to the stairs, then the whole stairs crossed the landing into the bathroom and down the back of the toilet. Now I thought it might have been a dog. Got a little terrier named Tiny. I named him. I thought it was a laugh since he was such a little loudmouth shit. But he don't play like that. He's a tearer, a destroyer. He found that onion, he wouldn't be running it round the house, he'd break it down and toss it about. A whole white onion. Down the back of the toilet. Strangest things. The strangest places, do you know what I mean? I didn't mean to look at me missus's phone. I ain't ever been the jealous type. I've got no paranoia in me. I'm not like these Marys you see these days, constantly fretting, worrying about their birds out in a town with their mates having a good time, texting them, asking for pictures and confirmation where they've been. Never needed to be like that. I always thought if you loved them, you trusted them, and vice versa. Do you know what I mean? Anyways, it was Monday morning, start of the week. Usually I'm first up and out of the house, down the yard with the boys on whatever job we got that week. But I ended up working the weekend. Client wanted their kitchen fitted by week's end for some party she was having, so I was there 7 to 7 with Graham finishing it up. Nary a thank you or a shake of the hand for the effort, mind you. So my weekend started on Monday instead. Linda, my wife, was in the kitchen making the lunches for Lucy and Tom. She's always on her phone. Not that she's special in that regard. Fucking everyone is these days, aren't they? She likes to play those games where you have a farm or orchard or some shit. I like to joke if she spent as much time planting real veg in our garden as her fake one, our shopping bill wouldn't be so high. So she was on the phone making their lunches, I was in the lounge watching the telly when the kids fire out the door and she's off like a shot after them with the lunches. Shouts me a goodbye, bang goes the door. I decide the coffee pot's calling me, so I head in the kitchen. I see Linda's left her phone on the counter. It's unlocked. She doesn't subscribe to the old auto lock-in feature. Likes to control the security, she says. Plus, if her phone locks during some of the games she plays, she loses progress, or so she says anyway. So I pick up her phone to look it for her, and I see she's been looking through photos from the weekend. Her and the kids went to some National Trust park with the in-laws. Said she wanted to send me the photos, but didn't have any Wi-Fi there, and she forgot. So I thought I'd have a look. They were nice. Lucy and Tom used to love playing together when they were younger, but as they got older, they get on each other's tits more, as kids tend to do. I don't know what I did, but I ended up outside the photos looking at all the albums and folders. She's got a different phone to me, and I don't know how the bastard thing works. I never got the hang of them. But I noticed she's got a folder right at the bottom of the screen. It's got like a little padlock on it. Strange. Never seen it before. I click on it, but it asks for a passcode, like when you unlock the phone at the beginning. 6 digits. I tried her anniversary, nothing. Her birthday, nothing. I tried Tom's birthday, our eldest, and it unlocked. You can find things in the strangest places. Things you never expected to find there. Things that have no business being there. You don't ever think of women, do you? Doing that sort of thing. I don't know whether it's all them old films or the rumours from when I was a lad, but when you think of that, well, you think of some creepy old bloke with a trench coat done up to his bonce with a hat all saying on, don't you? Or when you read about them teachers who mess about with their pupils at schools, they're always them younger boys. Ones who've just passed their teaching degrees and are only 8 years older than the pupils. But there are them women teachers, they get done for it now, don't they? See them on the news. Seems to be more of them these days. But when I see those, I know it's wrong, don't get me twisted, it is wrong. But I can see how a teenage lad could get into all that carry on. When you're a 16-year-old lad, that's all you think about anyway, innit? And you got some bird trying it on with you, you probably ain't stopping to think how it ain't right. You're just desperate to do something with anyone. But like I said, don't get me wrong, it is still what it is. Grooming. Grooming and manipulation. And the teachers, male or female, are wrong uns and you should bang them up. But at the very least, is all I'm saying, at the very least, the teenage lads, I can see how they get into it. All I'm saying. There weren't teenage lads on Linda's phone. They weren't even Tom's age. Not that would make it better. All of it's wrong. I don't know where she got them from. I always thought if you search for stuff like that on the internet, you get flagged by your provider and the old bill around at your door the following morning. Clearly not. There was hundreds of them in that folder. Going back years and all. She always turned down a new phone the past few years. Said she liked that one, and what would a new one give her that that one couldn't? At the time I thought she was just saving us couple bob. Looks like she was saving herself something else. I didn't confront her at first. Truth be told, mate, I didn't know how to react, would you? If you found your wife's phone full of I waited a couple of days. Tried to cool off, think about it. I'll tell you what though, found myself offering to do everything for the kids. I didn't even realise it at first. I was dropping them off and picking them up at school. Even took to sit between her and them round the dinner table, and I've sat at the same chair for the past 15 years. All of them was asking why, and I just told them it was time to mix it up a little bit. Getting bored of the chair. Kids dropped it after a while, but Linda knew something was up. Usually I'm all over her even after 20 years of marriage. Hands on the arse, grabbing at her tits. From that morning I was hands off, eyes down. No kiss goodnight, no cuddle in the morning. It was Friday when she finally asked me what was up. Tom was out playing footy with the lads, Lucy was having a sleepover at a friend's house. Usually if we got that amount of time alone, you knew what we'd be doing. Half a bottle and some how's your father. But I steered clear. Once I dropped the kids off, I was straight on the sofa with the TV on when I got in. She came and sat next to me, running around up my leg. That was always the way she got things started. But I ignored her. She says to me, "Not in the mood, not like you." I didn't even control what I said back, mate. Just came right out. Thought you'd be looking for something a bit younger. I'll tell you what. Never seen a person's face drop so quick. It was like I straight up called her a nonce to her face. She tried to play it off. Acted as if I was making a joke, but my face weren't hiding it no more. I asked her why she had a secret folder of photos in her phone. She asked me why I was snooping. I asked her why it had a security code. She asked me why it mattered. I asked her why she had a video of a lad no more than 7. She started crying. Crying, shaking, hyperventilating. Took me half hour, 2 glasses of water to calm her down. She tried to explain the whole thing. She didn't know what had happened. Started with the normal things. Following them young pop stars on Instagram and Twitter. You know the ones, them boys barely 18 who start off all cute, end up turning all bad boys, spitting at the paparazzi and doing nude photo shoots. Then she was looking at pictures of them before they were famous. She thought they were cute. A few more rabbit holes later and she was looking at... well, what she was looking at. Shit makes your blood boil when you hear it on the news. Said she couldn't control it. It was a disease. She needed help. Some sort of treatment, therapy. I asked her why she used our son's birthday as the code. I've never sat in a silence longer in my whole life. She cried again. Cried all night till Tom came home from football. It's just me and the kids now. For now, anyway. She's living with her parents for a spell. Says she's seeing someone on medication. We didn't tell her parents why. Just gave them the usual spiel, we're having problems. I didn't tell anyone else either. Not the old Bill or any of our friends. She ain't got a phone anymore, I took it. Deleted everything. I read somewhere you should always report when you find shit like that to the authorities. Might help them track some of the bastards who make it down. Help the kids in the videos and the photos. Soul smoking cases and the like. If I told anyone, she'd go down. They might even take the kids away from me and I ain't having that. Not having that. Fact of the matter is I do love my wife. I know she's done wrong. But if I let her go down, it ain't just her that sinks, is it? It never is. It's never just them. It's everyone else as well. It's my kids. Their mother's face plastered over the newspaper and the internet on Facebook. Their school full of nasty rumours and bullshit about her and about them. My business down a pan. Kids ask when she's coming back. I don't know what to tell them. Truth is, maybe never. Lucy has no clue, but Tom seems like he knows something. No specifics. When I look at him across the dinner table, he looks at me, and there's something in his eyes. I'm scared to ask what. I'm scared to know what. I'm scared what he'll say. I'm scared what I'll do if he says it. I see Linda once every 2 weeks outside her parents' gaff. I don't go in. Can't face them as well as her. She's thinner these days. She was always a big girl. Looks tired. She asks about the kids, but I don't tell her much. Tell her they're eating right and they're going to school, and that's about it. She looks for more, but she don't get it. Not from me, anyway. She wants to know when I'll bring them by. Not for her as much, but for her parents. I tell her they can come to the house, but not her. She thanks me for that. Last time I saw her, she ain't been sleeping much. Says she has nightmares about the kids. About them dying. Or hurting. Or never seeing them again. I don't tell her I have the same dreams. Not about our kids. But the ones in her phone. About how many of them there were. About the wallpaper in the rooms they were in. About our son's birthday being what let me see him. I don't tell her about the dreams. She asked to see photos of Lucy's birthday. It was last week. I tell her no. Maybe another time. She don't fight, push the point. We just sat on her parents' front bench in silence. Thought about 20 years ago, when I first pulled up here to take her out. Close my eyes and I picture it. Me and my shite little Minnie, driving up the small road into the cul-de-sac. But instead of stopping, I drive on past. I drive on past and I bang a U-turn and I head right on back out the road. When I open my eyes, Linda's looking at me through the bags under her eyes. She asks to see the pictures of Lucy's birthday again. Just one, she says. I tell her no. Maybe another time. She doesn't fight or push the point. Our second monologue comes from a man who spent much of his life on the outskirts of society, in the grips of nature and the wild world. May I present In From the Cold. In From the Cold. I was 18 when I first went out there. I didn't plan on staying. Certainly not for 20 years, but here we are. I just went for a hike. Clear my head. It was the summer after college finished. I was supposed to be starting university the next month, moving across the country, down south to London. Bright lights and big opportunities. Or so my mother had always said to me. Truth is, I hated the idea of it. I'd visited the city over the years, of course. School trips, family weekends, and when I went to check out the campus at the start of the year. But it was so crowded, people everywhere, streets fit for a couple hundred, spilling over with thousands. The noise, the smell, the hustle, the bustle, the constant motion and commotion. Mother loved it, so while we were there I would smile and nod at her constant utterances about it being a fantastic step forward for me. All I could think about was the woods back home, a stone's throw from our back door. A world of silence, pure silence, punctuated only by the sounds of nature. No car horns, no aggression, no cigarette butts, no seagulls, no McDonald's, no coffee shops, no shouting, no underground, no nothing. Just silence. I think that's why I went out that day. To grab as much time as possible in my quiet refuge as I could. I took my usual supplies, pop-up tent, a couple of liters of water in a canteen, compass, rope, cooking stove, gas for said stove, and a knife. I'd gotten into archery, so I took my bow and a couple of handmade arrows me and Father had made over the summer. It was a recurve bow, old-fashioned. I'd loved Robin Hood as a child. Take from the rich and give to the poor, and all of that. Mother said that was unfair. The rich had worked for what they had. What right did Hood have to take it from them? I didn't know or care about any of all that. I just liked the bow. So I went out. I was only looking to have an overnight camp. There was the perfect spot I had found a few years previous. It was a few miles into the woods. It's quite the treacherous path to get there. The woods are thick and the vegetation overgrown. It is hilly and bogs and streams attempt to stop you at every turn. But if you make it through, there is a lake, calm and isolated. And at the head of this lake a small cave hidden behind a thicket of fallen trees from the top of the woods above. I always camped in there. There was enough room to have a fire near the entrance as to not fill the cave with smoke, but also hidden enough that you cannot see its light from across the lake. I stayed there many times as a young man. I journeyed there that night. I was fully prepared to never return there again. Resign this rambling freedom to the past, to a time of childish wanderings and lack of responsibility. But as I spent that last night there, shooting arrows at the target I had set hanging from a great oak at age 13, cooking a stew of roots and vegetables from the nearby wood, watching the light of the fire cast a show of shadows across the cave walls, I simply did not. I didn't leave. As the next few days came and went, I fully expected to pack it in, return home, offer apologies to my mother and father, and prepare to leave for my next journey. Journey into life, organized society. But the days turned into weeks, the weeks into months, the months finally into years. I lived freely, without excess or worry. I hunted with my bow. I fished with a rod I fashioned from twigs and the frayed thread of my rope. I gathered a bounty of vegetables and fruits, and never once went hungry or thirsty. At times I thought of my parents, some miles away, consumed with worry and fear over my disappearance. You may think me cruel, to have disappeared into the woods with no words or warning, my family and friends left with the cruel and cyclical nature of wandering and worried thoughts. But I didn't care. I had tossed off the chains of a structured and ordered world and returned to one of an earlier time, simpler time. Sometimes I saw search parties at night, beacons of light flowing through the gaps of the trees. Yet their beams never fell upon my skin and revealed me to them. After the first year they stopped and retreated back through the woods, never to be seen again. Sometimes, when loneliness and isolation built to a fever pitch, I would find myself walking back through those bogs and streams and trees, in search of another human in which to view, reach out to, speak to, and touch. But whenever I happened upon a hiker, a hunter, or a dog walker, I hid behind trees and bushes, perfectly happy to simply watch them from afar. I journeyed around the woods, finding the lodges and huts of the wealthy stocked year-round with food, medicine, and tools. I took small amounts from each, usually in the winters, as to keep myself well and fed in times of hardship. I felt like the Robin Hood I had admired in my childhood, a spectre removing the excessive lavishness of the privileged to feed and clothe the man on the edge. I know Hood tended to others and not only himself, but if there had been more like me, I would have shared the bounties of my searches. As the years rushed by, I forgoed speaking to myself out loud, internalizing my voice inward to the point when I spoke without realizing. The worn and underused sound of my own words sounded like that of a stranger. I wrote with stolen pen on stolen paper, cultivating a vast store of poetry, wonderings and musings. Perhaps to the learned mind, they would sound like the ravings of a lunatic, but to me, the words from my own mind sounded like the echoing whispers of the land itself. I was merely the scribe. I didn't mean to return. I was out walking through the woods some distance from my cave. It was the beginning of spring, and I always liked a long, dreamy walk through the bloom. Every tree in growth, every flower in bloom, even the weeds and nettles providing an aroma and feel of renewal and rebirth. I was so astounded by the beauty, I took a misstep on a path I had walked 1,000 times and tumbled down a rocky hill, my right leg taking the brunt of the fall. In return it shattered for its troubles. I had sustained injuries over the years and had become quite adept at fixing myself up and tending to any wounds. But I was too far from my camp and the safety of my cave, my injuries too great to suffer the agony of the return journey. Instead, I allowed myself to accept this injury as the felling of the part of the woods I had become. Every tree has a fall, and perhaps this would be mine. I laid spread out in the moss and mud of the hill, and allowed the cool spring air to pull me into unconsciousness. When I awoke, I realized that I had not crossed to the other side as intended, nor was I still crumpled at the base of that hill. The beeping was what confirmed it, the incessant, shrill, artificial sound of the machine I was tethered to. The scratchy feeling of a blanket atop me and the springs poking into my back from below. The cries of my now elderly mother as she cradled my face with the aged fingers of a woman gripped with grief for too long. The next weeks were a circus of visits and meetings. Family and friends, relieved, angry, ecstatic, distraught. Reporters and journalists desperate for a scoop of the wild man of the woods. Police and lawyers asking questions and dictating evidence and sentences for my crimes whilst out in my own world with its own rules and laws. All their words and cries and shouts and whispers fell on deaf ears and provoked no verbal response from me. I looked only to the window of my room. In that framed square I saw my home for 20 years. The woods. I looked upon it day after day, waiting and willing for my leg to heal, so that I may look out the window and see myself running back to my home once more. To breathe the unpolluted air, drink from the clear, untainted water, and eat from the bounty of the earth. The world took to calling me the man brought in from the cold, as if the world they had torn me from had been an icy prison in which I was freed, when in truth it was here where I was cold. The clinically buzzing lights that were louder than the insects that echoed through the woods at night, the incessant chatter and hustle of medical staff more distracting and irritating than the quiet stillness of the lake on which I built my home. The constant visits and hand-holding from my mother, interrogating, prodding my actions, my thoughts, and my future. It is here that is cold, cold and constricting like the blood of the snake that coils itself around you before crushing you slowly to death. It is out there that is warm, that is safe and comfortable, where freedom reigns and the days and nights are as long or as short as you deign them to be. Out there, out that window to my right, I try to see myself out there. I try to see myself out there. And so, the fire dies. We will return in a fortnight, as we always do. Be sure to look up the rest of the Come Sit By the Fire, the short story podcast, tales. The fire continually burns on many platforms: SoundCloud, Stitcher, iTunes, Spotify, YouTube. Be sure to journey over to WORK.STORIES.REPEAT.com for more stories, articles, and essays. Fire also burns on social medias, the digital fireplace that is Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We'll see you again by the fire. Farewell.